Listen, if this vlog doesn't start here, I don't know when it would. So I'm reading Fourth Wing. I think that I want to tell you like the story of how I got it. So basically, I know about the Fourth Wing hype. I've been known, but I was like okay with not having it. Like when I first started seeing everyone on TikTok with their arcs talking about like this being the next big thing, and like every other TikTok I saw was about Fourth Wing, I was like, no, like listen, I'm a hype kind of girl, but I wasn't here for it. I didn't want it yet. And then like it immediately sold out as it came out, right? And I was like, that's fine, I can wait. Like I said, I'm not here for the hype. Mika was telling me I should read it. Everyone was telling me to read it. And then like a month later, I was like, I'm tired of skipping all the TikToks of like people talking about Fourth Wing, and like it sounds really good and I'm in a fantasy mood and I haven't read like a good fantasy book in a while. Like I want a good fantasy book. No offense to like the fantasy romance books that I've been reading, and no offense to the regular fantasy books that I've been reading, but like neither of them had that like smutty good fantasy element that I was looking for. Like none of them had like this incredible storytelling with pretty good writing and good smut, like in slow burn and believable, buildable characters. No offense. Really. I love trashy novels as much as the next girl, but I didn't want a trashy novel. I was in a mood and I started like my hunt and I started reading more things that just weren't hitting the spot, and I saw that it wasn't on Amazon. Amazon was like, it'll come in like July, August. Like, excuse me, July or August? I'm not waiting until July or August. Barnes & Noble, out of stock. Everywhere out of stock, and I was like, okay, I can keep waiting. And then it kind of like hit a peak because suddenly like every comment that I was getting on my videos was like, have you read Fourth Wing yet? Not every comment, but like I've been getting like so many comments and DMs, and like on anything that I post it's like, what about Fourth Wing? How do you feel about Fourth Wing? How do you feel about Fourth Wing? You should review Fourth Wing. And I'm like, I have not read it. And I know I could have just done a Kindle edition, but there's something about marking up a book that makes it hit so much more for me. Like I can do annotations in Kindle, but marking it up, so I didn't want to do it on Kindle. And like I always tell myself I'm gonna do my annotations in Kindle and then copy and paste it into a physical book, and I rarely ever do it. So I was like, I don't want to do that. I want it to be marked up. I need a physical copy. I can keep waiting. And then it kind of like hit a point where I was like, I need it actually ASAP. Everything that I'm reading is not satisfying. I'm about to start rereading Sarah J Maas because that is like the vibe that I need. Like it was like a couple nights ago and I couldn't find it anywhere. I was just like checking like random stores. Like I was like on the couch just sad, like scrolling, trying to figure out if there's in stock anywhere. And I'm telling my boyfriend all of this, Adam, and he's like, are you sure it's out of stock everywhere? Have you checked all this? Have you checked that? I'm like, yes, I've checked everything. I've obviously checked everything. And he's like, you know what? Tomorrow, I'm gonna find it for you. I'm off. It's like the 4-day weekend for 4th of July. He's like, I'm off. I'm gonna find it for you. And I was like, I mean, I love the attitude. Do not get me wrong. I love the attitude. You're not gonna find it for me. Like, I've been looking, you know? So I go to sleep that night, start rereading Throne of Glass. But I was like a couple of chapters in and I was like, yeah. I wake up the next day, get ready for work. Adam left early to go to the gym and I was like, okay, well, great. I have to go to work. And then I text him and he was like, yeah, I'm on my way home. I should be there like right before you leave. And I'm quite literally about to leave. And he comes upstairs and he's like holding something behind his back. Adam always leaves early and like sometimes he gets me coffee, which is kind of what I thought that he was doing. And he comes upstairs with like a coffee behind his back and he like pulls out Fourth Wing. And let me tell you his story, okay? This man's got up super early and then he looks it up and he sees that there's one Barnes & Noble in all of Vegas and it's like super far from us and it's showing one in stock. And he's like, okay, all right, let's give it a shot. He goes to this Barnes & Noble, drives like, I don't know, 35, 40 minutes, and he gets there and he's like, hey, do you have the Fourth Wing? Exactly how he said it. Do you have the Fourth Wing? And the Barnes & Noble people were like, no, we've been out of stock of that for months, like, sorry. And he's like, oh, your website shows, and they're like, yeah, that's a mistake. And he was like, okay, well, if you did have it, where would it be in like the fantasy section? And he doesn't really know like where the fantasy section is, so he was like, okay. And he just starts like kind of walking around. He gets to like to the fiction section. I think he gets to like young adult. He finally wanders into like the fantasy section and he's like, oh, this is the fantasy section. And he starts kind of just generally looking, and he, like the very last spot it could possibly be in this like tiny corner, dark corner, he sees this. So he grabs it. He's like, no way. It has like this like tiny little ding, which he apologized for. And I was like, I do not care. This is an amazing story. But like, he goes up to the front and they're like, where did you find that? The girl literally told him, she was like, I've been reading this on Kindle. Where did you find that? Like, I don't know if they just restocked it that day, if someone returned it, what had happened. Either way, it just appeared there. And then they gave him like a little discount because of like the damage to the book, and he brought it to me and he's like, I told you I'd find it. And I was like, I should have never doubted you. Yeah. So that's the story of how I got this in my hands, and I think that's a really good story. So now let me tell you, I started reading it like that day, but I haven't really, which was yesterday, but I haven't really gotten very far. I'm on page 38 or 40, and I want to do a vlog for it. I think it might be spoilery. I haven't really done a spoiler-filled vlog, you know? Let's do it. Actually, yeah, spoiler vlog. So I didn't know much going into this. I know, like all that hype and everything, but I kept skipping the videos. I didn't know much about going into this. I knew there was like dragons. That's kind of it. We haven't met dragons yet, but like I'm obsessed. I started it yesterday, but like today's really the day that I started like picking it up and actually like being really into it. I mean, right off the bat, we meet Violet, and Violet Sarangal, I believe is her name, in this world, this fantasy world, which I love like the attention to detail. Like the first thing that you read in the book is something that says, the following text has been faithfully transcribed from Navarian into the modern language by Jacina Nilewart, curator of the Scribe Quadrant at Basgiath War College. All events are true and names have been preserved to honor the courage of those fallen. May their souls be commended to Malik. Like, I love that. You see this Basgiath War College, like, map, and basically there's like 4 different quadrants. There's the scribe quadrant, there's like the healer quadrant, just the regular like infantry, and then there's the dragon riders. And you have to like volunteer to be a dragon rider. You kind of get conscripted to like being in the infantry and stuff like that. But Violet, her mom got sick while she was pregnant, that Violet like has a lot of like health issues because of that, and so she thought that she was always going to be a scribe. Like she's studied her entire life to be a scribe. Her father like is a scribe and he wanted her to be a scribe too. He died like literally a year before this takes place. Her older brother's also dead, who was supposed to be a dragon rider, and her mother is like their commander? Is it commander? General. Her mom's the general, which is like super high up position, and her mom is infamous. Her sister, Mira, infamous. Like these are 2 infamous dragon riders, and her mother is like, every Sarangal is a dragon rider. I don't care. I don't care that you want to be a scribe. I don't care that you're weak and fragile. You're gonna be a dragon rider. I believe in you. But like, honestly, is it really believing? Whatever. Mira tries to convince her mom out of it. Like, no one really thinks that Violet would make it as a dragon rider. Like, there is like such a high death rate, which I thought was really interesting. Like, just, there's 3 years of training, and in those 3 years, like 3/4 of the class will die, and only a quarter will go on to be actual dragon riders. Like, that's intense. And this girl has health issues. Like, she only just started training for this too. Like, her sister got to train for forever, and she's just only now getting to train for it. Like, it's stressful. And she's like, the one thing I will say about Violet is like, her mom gave her this ultimatum. She's like, you're gonna do it. And she was like, well, I can't say no. I'm gonna give it my best try. Like, I'll probably die, but I'm gonna go down swinging, and I respect that. Obviously, right off the bat, Mira tells her, like, stay away from Xander. And, like, I highlighted that immediately, and I'm like, that's the love interest. Like, you can't tell me that's not gonna be the love interest. I think that's the love interest. She does kind of talk about her childhood best friend, Dane, who is a year older than her, which her sister... Already this book has talked a lot about like sexiness stuff. She's like, yeah, you can sleep with whoever you want as many times as you want in your own grade. You don't want people to think that you like slept your way to the top or anything like that. So you've got to stay away from anyone that's a second year. Her best friend, who she's had a crush on for forever, Dane, second year. Yeah. And like, you don't get to see anyone in those 3 years. Like, you don't get to like leave the academy, I think, like from what I understand. So like, she hasn't seen him in a year. He doesn't know that she's about to be a dragon rider. It's all very intense. And like, the first thing that you have to do is like walk across this like super high turret, like that like tiny strip of like stone in between like towers normally and stuff like that. And like 15%, I think, typically die. And this girl just started training. She's got loose joints. She's weak. She's small. She's fragile. And like, it's also brutal. Like, they keep saying how like, if people perceive you as weak, they'll actually try and kill you in your own class. Like, that's allowed in like certain situations. It's allowed for you to be killed by your own groups. It's all dangerous. But like, you can already tell that like her scribe mind, her super intelligent brain that's been like training for scribes, and her agility are gonna pull through. And also, I think her kindness of heart. are gonna play like a huge role, because like the first thing that happens is like she accidentally befriends people like as they're walking up the tower, which obviously I think it was fairly obvious that that sweetie pie boy that hadn't proposed to his girl, that was like super excited and his parents were like begging him not to do it. His parents beg people not to do it. I thought it was pretty obvious he was gonna die, and he did, unfortunately. He like fell right off that turret as soon as it started raining because he had slippery shoes, which, yeah, I mean, her sister told her not to wear slippery shoes, so like she gave her like a whole dragon rider gear. And there's this other girl, Rhiannon, and she'd noticed that her shoes were slippery, so Violet like had them switch left shoes. Like each of them have like one of the grippy shoes, and like already like Xander was of course there. Xander, the guy she's supposed to stay away from, the hottest guy she's ever seen, of course. And he like notes that. And like you see him smirk, but I feel like there's something going on there. Like I know that he's supposed to be like a rebel child or whatever, but I think like he's misunderstood. And he also thought that like maybe all Sorengals are just like terrible people, and now he has to like see her risk her life for a person that she just met. I think that that's gonna play a role. There's like an awful person that's super jacked that tries to like, I don't know, that guy sucks. Oh, and his name's Jack, I'm pretty sure. He sucks. I hate him, but he's probably gonna get pretty far in like the book. Obviously Dane sees her. I already love like the quick wit that like Violet responds to Dane with, because like this is her best friend from childhood that she's had a crush on for forever, so I was assuming that she'd be kind of like timid and quiet, but like no, this girl got some lines. Like she literally said, well, he was like looking at her while she was like wrapping up her knee, because of course like her ligaments are like super loose, so when she fell on the turret and like hit her knee, it's like dislocated basically. I'm nervous for her. He's like staring at her and he's like, it's just different. And she goes, why, Dane Ados, you've seen me in swimwear, tunics, and even ball gowns. Are you telling me it's the leather that does it for you? He scoffs, but there's a slight flush to his cheeks. And he goes, glad to see your part hasn't dulled your tongue by. And she goes, oh, I can do quite a few things with my tongue. You'd be impressed. So yeah, I'm excited. That's kind of where I left off. He is like a squad leader, and he got Rhiannon and her in his squad, which is good. I don't know, I sense a love triangle coming, and I don't know who I'm rooting for. Like they're both sassy. I don't know, I'm rooting for Xander, let's be honest. I'm always rooting for the bad guy, always. So yeah, I'm gonna read right now. I actually want to grab some like stickies too, because I want to like kind of like mark some of the things that I'm reading, but let's finally take the dust jacket off because I didn't really get a chance to do that since I got it. For the most part, like the way that it's being done and all the like knowledge, it doesn't feel like info dumping. I know it is, don't get me wrong, like all her like remarks, like telling Rhiannon what's going on, her like walking across the turret and calming herself down by giving herself like a history lesson. I know that that's for us, the reader. And I love that like chapter headers are like pieces of their, what's it called? Of like their codex, I think. Like, of course, the first line in here, which I highlighted because this is the thing that I have seen nonstop on TikTok. A dragon without its rider is a tragedy. A rider without their dragon is dead. Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So yeah, I'm gonna read this. Adam's watching a movie right now, so I just have like a few hours to just like be by myself and read. I think I'll give you an update like when I feel like I should. I think that's a good idea. I'll give you an update when I feel like I should. I've already talked so much. Expect this vlog to be a long one. I think it'll be a really good time though. Granted, I think she's gonna pull through. I think that's something about her illness. Maybe like, I don't know if you find a dragon in this book, but like if she does, I think that the dragon, I have two theories. Either the dragon had a rider and now no longer does, and like they're gonna like save each other, or the dragon is gonna be able to heal her in some way or like tune into her already. Like, I mean, Dane tried to convince her out of this. He was like, girl, dragons, they're gonna sense that you're weak and they're not gonna pick you, and then like you're gonna die or they're gonna eat you. Like, I don't think so. I think that there's something different about what happened with her illness. Like, I know it like it messed her up, but I think that she's gonna like really pull through. I'm anxious though. I was gonna say I'm anxiety. That's it. Oh, also I trust Rhiannon with my whole chest. That girl, boss bitch. I am now a little bit further. I'm on page 76 and I've made a tabbing system, and the blue tabs are things I wanted to talk about, so let's go through that. Come on. It couldn't have been as easy as her like literally just being in the second wing with Dane as her like squad commander and with Xaden completely removed. No. No, come on. It's never that easy. Xaden forced her squad, Dane, to be under his command under fourth wing, like the title of the book. The that was expected, right? Like, I told you I was surprised that like she actually got out of Xaden's grip, so I guess I'm not that surprised that she wasn't. Obviously Xaden has his little like power play moment. He's like, do you all feel unstoppable, invincible, unstoppable? I said that twice. And everyone's like, yeah! And then he's like, well, you frickin' shouldn't, you know? And our girlie, she does not cheer. She doesn't feel unstoppable. She doesn't feel invincible. She has known pain every day of her life, and she has known how to come through it on the other side, which I think is like a really huge characteristic about her that's like obviously gonna keep pushing. Like, she doesn't quit. Like, even though she's like studious, bookworm, quiet, like we get that idea from her, she's not. She's quick-witted, she's snarky, she's stubborn. And that was kind of like the exact thought that I had, because the Navy dragon is staring right in her eyes. And she's kind of a little bit nervous. Like, I mean, 2 cadets were just killed, but I was like, no, no, no. It's staring at the girl who didn't scream, at the small girl, the fragile girl who knows her place and didn't scream and didn't cheer. The small girl who knows life, pain, and sacrifice. That's what I wrote. And it says, dragons always know. And then she says, but I will not run. I wouldn't be standing here if I'd quit every time something seemed impossible to overcome. Like, we get to learn a little bit more about Paromial, or like the other place that, yeah, Paromial, that is against Navarre, the Griffin Riders, and how they seem to never be satisfied with the trade agreement, the resources. And we learned that, like, I mean, obviously she comes through with her little witty, quick remarks in their battle class. I don't know what it's called exactly, but like an up-to-date kind of like battle class to let you learn like skills to ask questions, to figure out what's going on. And she has like some of the best questions of she has the best questions of the first years, and the only person that really ones up her, Xaden. They're both so smart, and they both know how to look at something in a different way. I think they both got a lot taken from them. And I think Xaden's gonna learn to respect that in her. Like, he probably saw her as entitled, and now he's seeing like, she's probably worked harder than he has. And he's a son of a rebel, you know? And I got to the first sparring scene, which like, that was... I think that her skill is gonna come in like speed. Like, she's gonna be a very agile, like quick ducking, perfect punching. Like, that's gonna be how she has to spar. And then, so for all of this, like, the next thing that popped up was like one of those chapter header things, and it said mending is the most precious, for menders are rare. And I just kept thinking, I'm like, I feel like that's gonna be her power. I feel like that's gonna be her dragon. She's gonna be a mender. And then the next page talks about my brother Brennan was a mender and would have been one of the greatest had he lived. And all I can think is like, what if her brother's dragon chooses her? I know that dragons are supposed to kind of be like cold, cruel, cunning, heartless in this story. They're very, we're only with you because you can kind of give us something that we can't do on our own, but we don't love you. But I think that they do love. And like, I wonder if Brennan's dragon lived, and if it did, if it would see something of Brennan in her. We already got the idea that like Brennan was obviously her mother's favorite, and like now I just got to the part where she has his like journal. It was the journal that he gave Mira, and Mira snuck it to her to like be like, you're gonna get through this, you're gonna win. And I got teary-eyed because he wrote in it to Mira, you have to live because Violet is watching. You can't let her see you fall. And like, he falls. I'm already so emotional about this book, and we're 70 pages in. Like, I can't. And we get like the snippet where she's like, okay, I can learn who my opponent is gonna be, like who I'm gonna be matched up against in these duels, and then I can learn how to defeat them, because Sawyer, the guy that got held back a year, and Rhiannon, both of them are bad at history, but both of them are good at dueling, and they said, we'll help you duel if you teach us history. Which I love. I don't know, it's just, this book's got me wrapped around its little finger. So anyways, I'm gonna keep reading. I have to give you an update because I've actually read a lot since last night, and last night I should have given you an update, but I was sleepy. It was like 1:30. Girly Pop is gonna poison people. Like, good for her. You know, I get it. Like, they're trying to teach them survivable skills to be like soldiers in an army and to be like successful dragon riders, but like, do what you gotta do. You kind of got forced into this, and you're smart. Prove that smart can overpower brawn, you know? I don't know. I'm okay with the whole poisoning thing with like before the challenges. I think that's cool. And of course, while she's up in the tree, she starts to like hear people. And my instant thought, I'm like, it's gonna be Xaden. Well, actually, not even that. She gets to the tree and she notices that the grass was oddly trampled. And I like underlined it, and I was like, Xaden? I feel like it's gonna be Xaden. And of course it was, but it was him with like every single rebel child that is in training, which isn't allowed because there shouldn't be more than groups of 3. So marked ones assembling in groups of 3 or more will now be considered an act of seditious conspiracy and is hereby a capital offense. And she's even thinking like, oh, they might be plotting to burn Basgiath to the ground. But then she notices, no, actually Xaden has a redeemable quality. He's trying to help these kids through it. They're surviving this place together. And I thought that was like really sweet. I love that she was like, damn it, I didn't want to find a single thing about Xaden Ryerson admirable, and yet here he is being all annoyingly admirable. Same. Well, actually, no, not same. I love him. They start talking about her. Of course, I loved it. He's like, no, she's mine. And I'm like, ooh, what does that mean? And I didn't expect one of the marked ones to stand up for her. Like Garrick said, her mom is responsible for the capture of nearly all our parents, not her daughter. Punishing children for the sins of their parents is the Navarian way, not the Tirish. I really liked that. I feel like Garrick, I'm gonna end up liking, literally ends up saying, in case you didn't notice, she's in the same death sentence of a college. Seems like she's already suffering the same fate. I don't know. I like Garrick. He's like really thinking it through. He's not just beefy. And even Xaden was like, don't forget about her brother. She has just as much reason to hate us as we do. I was just in shock. Like these people that are marked ones that supposedly hate her are kind of like going to bat for her in mild ways, you know? Like I was impressed. And of course, she waits until they're all gone. I was like, there's no way. Like he's gonna find her. And he pops out and he goes, I command shadows. I knew you were there the whole time. There's this smexy, sexy line from him that says, what? Eidos hasn't warned you not to get caught alone in the dark with me yet? He starts like teaching her, very low key, and I was like, yes, this is what she needs. I think that they're very much like a very similar kind of person. Granted, he's big, strong, knows his body. She is not big and strong, but she and him have like similar minds, I think. I think that like he would be the best kind of teacher for her, and I know that she's supposed to be scared of him, and I know that everyone else says that he hates her. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Of course, it gets even sexier and he's like, fascinating. You look all frail and breakable, but you're really a violent little thing, aren't you? Like after she throws her daggers at him and he was like, you missed. And she's like, step back a few steps and see if I really missed. And she didn't. I don't know. I was just freaking out. I loved this entire last page. I loved the banter. He goes, we'll see if you keep your word about her not telling Dane about the meeting of the marked ones, because like that's illegal. They would have gotten executed. And she's like, I don't want people to get executed for like what doesn't seem like a bad situation, you know? Like I'll keep your secret. And he goes, we'll see. And if you do, then unfortunately it looks like I owe you a favor. And she goes, you're not gonna handle me? And he goes, not tonight. He tosses over his shoulder. And she goes, what are you waiting for? And he says, it's no fun if you expect it. Now get back to bed before your ringleader realizes you're out after curfew. And she goes, what? You're my ringleader. I know, this is actually a toxic trait of mine. I love a good power imbalance. I don't know. I don't know. Like right after that, she has a little bit of a sexy moment with Dane. Not really sexy, but like they have more banter. I really do like their banter. I think that like as far as banter goes, they're equal, him and Xaden for now. I don't know, Dane really wants to protect her, which is starting to get on my nerves. He's like, I just want to see you get hurt again. And she's like, then don't watch. I'm like, snaps for that, girly pop. And I remember like Xaden at one point told her, he's like, if you showed your little dagger trick to Jack, I don't think he'd be as willing to just kill you. And she kind of thought to herself, she's like, yeah, I mean, Dane told me that I needed to lie low, but like obviously that's not working, you know? And Dane once again is like, just steer clear of him. And she's like, this advice is so different from Xaden's throw a few daggers at his head approach. And of course she joins, like her duty that she decided to do was the breakfast duty, like to help with breakfast. And like it's so obvious like right off the bat that she's gonna start poisoning her like challengers for the week. And I thought it was just so clever. Like I get it, like you're supposed to know how to fight, but like at the end of the day you can fight as well as you want, but like your joints are not sticking together. There's this scene where like they're in like their dragon class and Professor Kaori is kind of talking about like what the threshing will be like, what kind of dragons are going to be there, how many are choosing to bond. Like there's going to be 100 this year, and it's like fewer dragons are choosing to bond every single year. And they talk about the different kinds of dragons and like how they are. They also mention like the blue daggertail, which is like the rarest of the blues and like just one of the most like vicious, ruthless dragons, which is of course Xaden's dragon. And she broke a couple rules because you're not supposed to bond with a relative of someone that you bonded with before as a dragon, but like dragons don't give a fuck. So like it even says that she even bonded the relative of one of her previous riders, which you all know is typically forbidden, but Scale does whatever she wants whenever she wants. In fact, if you see any of the blues, don't approach them, just run. And I thought that that was interesting because I didn't realize until that point that like, because I keep saying I think that her brother's dragon is gonna bond with her, but like if that's not allowed, then it's like less likely, but that makes me think even more that it's gonna happen, you know, like don't keep telling me the odds. I think it's gonna happen. And then we have Jack, annoying ass, be like, what about the black dragon? There's one here, right? The first year that was next to Jack said that, and Jack was like, I want one. And Professor Kaori was like, not that it's going to matter, but just to appease your curiosity, since this is the only time you'll ever see him, here's the only other black besides General Malgren's. and he's huge. He has a Morningstar tail, which is like all the bludgeoning power of a club tail, but with spikes. It's the best of both worlds. He's a killing machine. Everyone is talking about it, and they're the rarest. There hasn't been one born in a century, and that the only one that is available hasn't agreed to bond since his previous and only rider was killed during the uprising. And like, to find out that signets are actually dependent on the bond between the rider and the dragon, and it has more to do with the rider than the actual dragon, just like says so much to me. And then we see this scene that another rider died next to Brennan. Well, he died burning out, trying to heal someone from the dead. And she goes up and asks him, and she goes, "It was Brennan, wasn't it?" And he goes, "Yes, he died trying to save your brother, but Brennan was too far gone." It was a really touching moment because this is Dragonkind class, by the way. I finally figured that out. Professor Kaori tells Violet, he goes, "Violet, I taught both your siblings. Brennan was a spectacular writer and a good man. Mira is shrewd and gifted in the seat when it comes to writing." She nods. "But you're smarter than both of them. From what I've seen of you helping your friends study in commons every night, it seems you might be more compassionate too." And she goes, "Thanks, but smart and compassionate isn't gonna help me when it comes to the threshing." And he goes, "They choose for reasons they don't see fit to share with us, and not all strength is physical, Violet." And like, this goes back to my point where I think that like the fact that she's compassionate and intelligent is really gonna just outshine everyone else. But like, we're gonna have to start kind of like skipping around because I feel like I'm talking a lot. But we get to the scene between her first challenge, and it's against Oren, and she poisoned him in the morning. Like, and he's all like loopy-goosey, and she wins. And then like we get like this whole scene about her winning each of her next fights by continuously poisoning someone. And then one day she poisons a girl, but she poisons her too much or too early, and so she goes to the infirmary before her challenge can start with her. And of course Xaden walks onto the mat, and like I really do like this scene just because like she needs to learn, and he's like teaching her in the sexiest way possible, like consistently just like disarming her, throwing it at Dane. Throwing her disarmed like tools at Dane. Whew. And then he kind of tells her, he's like, I know what you've been doing, which she's like, "Don't tell anyone." And he's like, "I know what you've been doing. It's smart. You still have to learn how to fight. Like, you've still got to do it. Like, you got to pull through." And then the next thing that I wanted to talk about, it's like a few weeks before they're gonna do the gauntlet, and they're about to like start training, and he's like, "Listen, I talked again with Markham, and he's a scribe, and he said that he can like sneak you in there still. Like he'd still do it, and he wouldn't tell your mom." And she's like, "You went behind my back because you think I'm not cutting it." Which, like, I get where he's coming from. He's trying to be protective. He thinks that she's not gonna make it. Like, the gauntlet is like, it kills a lot of people. It's like this insane route up to the mountain, and he just doesn't think she's gonna make it. And even if she does, he doesn't think that she'll make the threshing. Like, the actual like bonding of the riders, he thinks she's gonna get killed by someone, or that the dragons are gonna kill her. He just doesn't think she's gonna cut it. And it's like such a heartbreaking part for her, because like she obviously adores this guy, and like he's looking at her dead in the eye. He knows her best. She's been surviving this entire time, and he's like, "Honestly, I don't think you'd make it." So I said, there's nothing that'll turn me off faster than an overprotective, sure he's doing what's best male. Like, you can't tell someone that you know what's best, you know? She's like, "I've won every challenge so far." He like tries to like guilt trip her by basically saying, "While the riders are watching, the first years are taking out their vendettas and eliminating any liabilities to the wing." And I said, like, I can picture it, her bonding to the black dragon just as she's about to be killed or something. Like, she's like, I don't know, I just have this idea that like she's gonna be out on threshing, and like the black dragon that hasn't bonded with anyone for 5 years, been missing for 5 years, that isn't supposed to bond with anyone for 5 years, is gonna like kind of be there right when she needs it. Right when she needs it. I just feel like she's gonna have the black dragon, you know? And then of course he ends the conversation by being like, "If you won't do it for yourself, then do it for me." Why the fuck does it matter for you? It's not about you, you know? I don't know. I hated that. We see more of her empathy and like compassion coming through, because like she's cheering on her teammates, even Tynan, who sucks. Like, he's Jack's like bestie and Oren's bestie, like the guy that she fought with on the mat. And he's like a terrible person and like literally doesn't know anything about her, and he's like about to like fall in like the practice ring for the gauntlet, because it's like this, I'm imagining like Ninja Warrior stuff, but like up a cliff. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like Ninja Warrior stuff. So if you've watched that show, it's like that basically, but like up a cliff and way more dangerous. And this guy's about to fall, and she actually cheers him on, and she's like, "Just because he's a dick doesn't mean we have to be." which I really like. And this is kind of when we start to see her forming not only a friendship with Rhiannon, who love that girl, but with Riddick, another guy in her group. And I'm so happy. I love good friendships. And then we get like this like devastating scene. Orly, who is in their squad, I could almost sense it coming, you know, because they get to the gauntlet, they're looking at it for the first time, and Orly's hyped. She's like, I've been training for this for forever. My dad set up like practice courses for me and my brother. I'm so excited. This is the best adrenaline rush. I'm so hyped. And like our girl's thinking like, adrenaline rush, like if you slip you die, like you miss the rope, you die. A dragon like flies overhead right as Orly is on the spinning logs, like pretty high up. And well, we don't get to see it really because she looks up, like Violet looks up at the dragon and she's like, wow, I'm never gonna really get used to that. And she looks down just as Orly drops and like gets rolled off the log and falls half the length of the cliff. And that's their first squad person that dies, which was a lot. Presentation, like they make it through the gauntlet, and yes, she cheats, and yes, I understand that that last ramp is supposed to be her climbing onto a dragon's back and that you wouldn't stab a dragon and that's how she gets up with her dagger, but who the fuck cares? She was so smart. She used the rules for her advantage. I respect it. And everyone's like, the dragons are gonna eat you. Teenan's being so annoying, and so's Luca. They're being like just so annoying. They go into the presentation to the dragons and they're talking about this feathertail that's there, and feathertails are supposed to they're not seen. They stay like wherever dragons are made, and their dragon kind professor was like, feathertails don't bond. They've never bonded. We don't even know what they do. Like they just don't. And there's a feathertail and everyone's like, what does that mean? Like, and I kind of like the idea of her bonding with a feathertail just because like, I don't know. So when they're walking through, they're about to like present themselves. At this point, like dragons, like we learned that the dragons could just like breathe fire onto you if they think you're not worthy of being a dragon rider. So it's kind of nerve-wracking, especially for someone like Violet, you know, who is weak naturally. But as they're walking up, she starts to notice that Rhiannon is actually like super anxious. Like she doesn't know what to talk about. Like, wow, I've never realized that dragons are so big. Like all of them are kind of having that reaction. We're like getting the idea that dragons are so scary, so scary. Like she starts questioning Rhiannon, like just about her life. She's like, well, do you think you're gonna have like a niece or a nephew? Because her twin sister's pregnant. And she's like, just questioning her about life, because you're supposed to like present yourself also. You're supposed to talk how you would normally talk in front of the dragon so that they can get like a feel for your personality. It's like such a good moment to show off like her intelligence and her compassion, because not only does she know like that her friend is scared and she's like willing to just like get her out of her shell to do that. And of course, freaking Teenan is being a dick the entire time. I was so annoyed. Like I was so annoyed. And they get to the very end of the dragon line. They walk one way and then they walk back. They all made it one way. Thank God. And Teenan's talking his shit. But then they see at the very end this really small dragon. So dragons are like 25 feet tall, which is insane. They're huge. And then we see one that's like maybe a few feet taller than Violet. So I'm guessing like 7-8 feet. And it's gold. And it has a beautiful little feather tail. And she's like spinning and being cute. Like it's a small golden dragon. And it can be just as quick, just as agile as Violet is. Like they'd be a great match, you know? At this point, like, I'm gonna be honest, I still really want the black dragon thing to work out, but like it's not looking likely. And so the next thing that I can think of is like, it's gonna be the golden feathertail. It's like the book is gold. I think it's gonna be a feathertail. And it's so sweet. It's so sweet. We hear these idiots, Teenan and Luca, idiots. Teenan goes, who the hell would bond that thing? I almost crushed him in my grip, let me tell you. And Violet's like, they can hear you. And then Luca has to put in her 2 cents and she's like, it's fucking yellow. So not only is it obviously too small to carry a rider in battle, but it's not even powerful enough to be a real color. Those are fighting words, girl. Like do you know how badly I wanted like one of the dragons to just defend the golden feathertail's honor and burn these bitches? Oh, I was so annoyed. Sawyer, though, even steps in and he goes, maybe it's a mistake. Maybe it's a baby. Rhiannon, like, has its back, though. She's like, it's full grown. There's no way the other dragons would allow a baby to bond. And then Teenan talks again. Like, who gave you the right? He's like, it's a mistake, all right. You should totally bond it, Sorengale. You're both freakishly weak. It's a match made in heaven. Oh, God. He's a mistake. He is a mistake. Not it's a mistake. And I love what Violet says. She's like, it looks powerful enough to burn you to death, which is, you know, feathertails are supposed to be pacifists, so we don't actually know if they can burn anyone to death. But either way, good for you. Stand up for it. That baby fucking dragon deserves someone to stand up for it. It put itself on the line. It's showing itself when none other have shown itself before. And these are the fucking rude comments it's getting. I'm heated. Like, heated. Like, don't. Either way, Sawyer like lunged at Teenan at that point. He goes, don't ever say that about a squad mate, especially not in front of unbonded dragons. Like, about her being weak. Like, you can't talk about that. Like, dragons perceive weakness as bad. And Luca goes, let him go. He's just saying what we're all thinking. I already knew she was an annoying bitch. I didn't know she was an annoying bitch that I wanted to kill. And Teenan literally has the nerve as they're walking back to be like, someone should kill it before it bonds. It's just gonna get its rider killed, and it's not like we get a choice if it wants to bond with us. And someone should kill him before he bonds. That's all I'm saying. It's at this point, like, when they're walking back, one of their other squad mates gets killed. Unfortunately, it's the guy that can't make a decision, so that makes me nervous because I can't make a decision to save my life. Prior dies, and then as they're talking, oh, the green dragons, like, go right up to a Violet, and I'm like, wait, are you a dragon whisperer? But no, it was just because Mira's dragon is green, and she has, like, the scales in her vest, so the green dragons were, like, sniffing at her, and she's like, she plays it so cool. I don't know if anyone else would have played it that cool, you know? I'm, like, too bright now. And then Luca keeps talking, she's like, she's obviously our weakest link after Prior. I don't blame them for snuffing him out. He can never make a decision. No one wants someone like that as their rider, and then she gets burned. Loved that. That was great. Riddick says, guess the dragons think she's insufferable too. Exactly that. Exactly that. So this is what I've read today. We're finally kind of caught up. And it's October 1st, which is threshing. It's threshing day, and I'm convinced. Like, she goes, Mira knew what she wanted teen at this point. Like, I don't even know what I want yet. We haven't, like, walked in. And, like, I just can't shake the feeling that the gold Feathertail is gonna be hers. And, like, we don't even know what kind of powers Feathertails have. And everyone was so mean to it. Like, we deserve an arc, you know, like, we deserve a redemption arc. Her and Rhiannon are talking, and she goes, Dane tried to talk me into a brown, and then Rhiannon snaps for Rhiannon. She goes, Dane lost his vote when he tried talking you into leaving. Exactly. I know we're forgiving a lot, but I'm starting to really hate this dude. Like, I get it. You have the best intentions, but what's, like, best intentions is, like, supporting someone when they've already made a decision. Like, you don't have a right, like, to what someone does. It's just, this scene hits hard because they're, like, wandering around, or they all separate, and she's wandering through the forest and, like, kind of, like, looking out for the dragons, and she kind of climbs up one of the trees to get a look at what's going on, and she realizes that there's still a bunch of freshmen that haven't bonded yet because she's been seeing dragons fly up and stuff, and, like, obviously, I guess, but she sees the gold dragon, the Feathertail. She thinks to herself, like, okay, well, I guess she's still, like, sniffing out her curiosity, because that's what everyone's assuming with the Feathertail. They don't think that she actually wants to bond. I still think it's gonna be hers, you know what I mean? But then we get those idiots talking again. We get Teenan, we get Jack, and we get Oren. And these guys say, I'm telling you, I think I saw it headed this way. And I'm like, the gold dragon? You'd better be right. Sure, we shouldn't be spending our time looking for our own dragons instead of hunting the freak down. This grinding one is gonna get someone killed. They're planning on killing the dragon. I'm screaming. And so is Violet. Thank God. This girl is on my side. This girl understands it, and she just can't do nothing. So she's like, I'm gonna go the other way and I'm gonna warn this Feathertail. And she gets down and she's like, starts like veering away from their group, but like towards where she knows the Feathertail is. And this bitch, she trips on a log and like pops her, like breaks it, sprains it, pops it, I don't know, dislocates it, her ankle busted. And she's like, I still think I can make it. And she starts like limping over to where she knows the Feathertail is, and she is in a lot of pain, but she can block it out. She's done this before. She finally makes it to the meadow, which is big enough for a bunch of dragons, but the Feathertail's just standing in the middle, like the gold little baby, looking around, standing in the middle. And Violet goes up to it and is like, you have to get out of here. And its head pivots towards her, and she's like, yes, you, Goldie. It blinks its golden eyes and swishes its tail. I'm on the verge of tears. Like, I can't describe to you how stressed I am for this little gold dragon who doesn't deserve awful people. But like, obviously they're about to bond. Like, that's all I can keep thinking. And of course, she's like trying to shoot away, but then of course at that point, Jack steps into the clearing. She's begging the gold dragon to scorch them. Nothing's happening. And she's like, it's going to die just because it's smaller, weaker than the other dragons, just like me. My throat closes. Like, I know it's gonna be okay, but the idea of it is so mean to me that like I couldn't handle this scene. Like, it made me so sad. And she steps out from her hiding spot against 3 giant men, all who want her dead. And she's like, you can't do this. And they're like, we can take both the weakest links at the same time. And she's like, you can't kill a dragon. He goes against everything we believe in. I don't really think that's a problem, Jack. And then you hear, I would strongly recommend you rethink your actions. Xaden is leaning against the tree, his arms folded across his chest, and behind him, watching with narrowed golden eyes, her fangs exposed, is Scale, his terrifying navy blue dagger tail. And they're not allowed to get involved! They're not allowed to get involved. Chapter 14 starts with a header that says, sometimes dragons simply cannot emotionally recover from the loss of their bonded partners, and has even caused untimely deaths in dragons. I sat there and I was like, listen, this is a really good thing for my theory about her bonding with Brennan's dragon, who is potentially the black dragon, but like, gold feathertail now. Like, what am I missing? Right? And then this girl, she throws her daggers. She annihilates Jack's shoulder before he can even get there, and this motherfucker, he runs away. He runs away after she messed up his shoulder. Coward. Like a coward. I just can't even understand. And obviously Xaden and Scale are watching this all happen. They can't really get involved, but Xaden gives her like a warning before Orin like almost chops her head off, which they're like, you can't get involved. And he's like, I'm just narrating. I love it, the sass. And she does it. Like, she like beats these guys up. She knocks out Orin, and then she had already like stabbed Tienan in the leg and in the ribs. Tienan like eviscerates her arm, basically. Not eviscerates, but like he slices that thing. And he's like, your arm is shot, Sorengale. And she says, I'm used to functioning in pain, asshole. Are you? This is what her mom said in the beginning, which take that with a grain of salt, but her mom's like, she's used to living in pain. You have no idea what that can mean, you know? And it was true. And she's about to like lose. Her arm is shot, her leg is shot, and Tienan is coming with his two-handed sword. He's preparing for the kill, and Xaden, rules be damned, steps forward. But before anything can happen, a sudden gust of air is throwing Tienan back and her back. Growl resonates. Step aside, Silver One, says a dragon in her ears. In her mind, a black dragon. Ah! Oh my god, I was so right. I was so right. And all I can think of is like, what if the Golden One was just keeping an eye out for the black one? Like, what if that's why she was there? Like, to scout these people out, or to scout out Brennan's little sister. I'm still standing by that theory, but I don't know. And then he roasts Tienan. He roasts him, and Xaden and Scale fly off. And then they talk. Her and Mr. Black Dragon. He tells her, like, you should end your enemy. He goes, he would kill you if given the same choice. She's like, that's a statement of his character, not mine. He goes, let's go, Violet Sorengale. And she goes, what? He's choosing me. And then he goes, get on. And she's like, have you seen you? You're giant. He goes, one does not live a century without being well aware of the space one takes up. And then he like gives her his leg as a ramp. He chose her. He chose her. He chose her. And then he tells her that his name is Tarn, and they take off because the flight is important. You have to stay on your dragon or else you're not going to be an actual dragon rider. And he takes off and he's ginormous, and this girl's got no muscles. She falls right the frick off. I mean, he's gonna catch her. He's gonna catch her, you know? Like, I mean, I think so. And of course, he catches her with his claws, and he doesn't even, like, hurt her or anything. He's like, you're making us look bad. And then he throws her up onto his back, and she crawls back into it, and then he holds her there with magic because her legs aren't strong enough yet. And the gold dragon, for all this, is kind of, like, trailing along. I'm like, okay, what's going on there? And then she keeps kind of telling him, she's like, I'm just not as strong as the other riders. And he goes, I know exactly who and what you are, Violet Sorengale. If this is her brother's dragon, and this dragon hasn't bonded in 5 years, and this dragon's heart was broken when its bonded rider died, all I can think is that this dragon, if it was her brother's dragon, would have known that Brennan would have wanted that, would have wanted his sister protected by his dragon. I don't know. I'm just like, I'm gonna cry. Like, and also because of the gold dragon, I think that like him seeing her protect the gold feathertail when like the odds were completely against them, when the feathertail couldn't defend itself, when she was injured and she was up against 3 giant men who were just trying to cause harm, I think that that had a huge impact on how he saw her. Like her compassion. She's like, why did you choose me? And he goes, because you saved her. And she goes, but dragons value strength and cunning and ferocity in their riders. He goes, please do tell me more about what I should value. And he goes, you are the smartest of your year, the most cunning. You defended the smallest with ferocity, and strength of courage is more important than physical strength. And then they get to the landing pad, and she gets to show off her black dragon in front of everyone, and then the gold one lands with them and speaks into her head. And she was like, maybe you should save yourself next time. And the golden one looks at her and she goes, maybe I was saving you. And she goes, Goldie, you're not allowed to talk into riders' heads that you haven't bonded with. Like, you should know this. I don't want you to get in trouble. And she goes to sign up her name to say, Tarn is mine. Tarn is mine. And her mom's there. And I don't know, I thought her mom would be really proud, but she seems to think that her mom doesn't actually think that it's true. And that Tarn is, like, she's not going to know its name. That she somehow tricked the black dragon into riding her all the way over here. Like, which... impressive, actually. Kind of, I don't know if I would be flattered or not if I was her daughter right now. But as she's giving the name for Taryn, we hear another voice in her head right as she's about to like leave the keeper of the names and like the writer bonds, and you hear Andarna for short, the gold dragon. And she goes, what? And Taryn's like, do it. Give both names. And she does, and all hell breaks loose. All the generals are arguing, and then we find out that it doesn't matter what the generals think, because guess what? It's the dragons that get to decide if one writer can have 2 bonded dragons. Like, like, it couldn't have gone better for me if I had wrote this book myself. I wanted both of them so bad. Like, I felt bad for the gold feather tail. I wanted them together. I wanted her with the black dragon. Like, so, like, the dragons all go to have their little conference. The only other dragon that's, like, bigger than Taryn is the black dragon that's General Morans or Margarins or whatever the heck his name is. Who freaking cares? He seems mean. And Dane, well, okay, in general, Tarn tells her to stay with Xaden while he's away. Stick with your team leader. And she goes, don't you mean squad leader? And he's like, I said what I said. And of course we find out, oh, okay, well, anyways, she goes to talk to Dane anyways, and Dane, this idiot, is like, you're gonna have to choose, you should pick the gold one, because that way you don't have to fly. And she's like, I'm not gonna have to choose, I can't choose. And he goes, you're gonna have to pick the gold one. And she's like, what? Like, he's giving the energy of it's a mistake that the baddest ass dragon chose her. Like, he has the nerve to think that this is the moment, by the way, guys, this is the exact moment that I stopped liking Dane. I hate him now. I hate him. Like, how could he say that? And of course he was talking to her in the shadows, which, what do we remember? Xaden controls shadows, and of course he pops out and he's like, what did I do? And he's like, well, Xaden was watching you get beat up. You know that his dragon is mated to Tarn, right? They're the strongest mated couple, like, in recent history. They're the strongest mated couple, and that means that they can't be apart from each other, because if they're apart from each other, they start losing energy, and if they lose energy, they can die, and then you die. Like, you're gonna have to stay next to Xaden for the rest of your life, which is kind of a ridiculous thing to say, because he's sitting there being like, he's gonna kill you with that information. But also, like, if she dies and her bonded dragon is bonded to her bonded dragon's heart could break and die, and then he could die, and then Xaden could die by scale, because the mated dragon thing, they die when their mate dies, and dragon riders die when their dragons die. So, like, that was such a stupid thing for Dane to say in general. And then we see Xaden, he's like, if you were in that same position, if you'd been watching that fight like I watched it, would you have broken the rules? Because we both know, me and you, that Xaden almost did. That Xaden's mated dragon was watching this and called upon her mate and was like, hey, we need to save the gold dragon, and I like this girl. And that's why Tarn was there. That's why he appeared. That's why he chose her. I mean, like, also because of her character, but, like, low-key because of the, like, mated bond that he has with Xaden's dragon. Anyways, Dane finally responds and he's like, no, I wouldn't have broken the rules. So that's where I am. The dragons just, like, stopped convening, and, like, they're about to find out the decision. And Xaden's telling her, he's like, you need to make smarter decisions, because now your life can cost me my life. Like, we are forever gonna be together. We're forever gonna be bonded together, basically. And that means so much to me. And we learned that each time a dragon chooses a rider, the bond is stronger than the last time, which means, like, this time around, Tarn already almost died when he lost his rider. So that means that if the bond is stronger the second time around, he will die, basically, if Violet dies, which would kill Scale, which would kill Xaden. And Xaden's like, so we're gonna be together forever. I can't describe how excited I am. Like, I think the dragons convened. They're gonna let her stay with both dragons, obviously. I don't know how that's gonna work exactly. Does that mean that she gets 2 signets? 2 powers? And her and Xaden, they're gonna have, like, a weird bond and chemistry now, and Dane's just gonna have to deal with it. I'm freaking done with Dane and his, I think I know what's best and you have to do what I say because I think that you're weak. Shut up. The strongest dragon out there in the current cadet class, like, from seniors to freshmen, chose her. And if you're gonna sit there and keep saying that she's weak, then you have to reevaluate what it would mean for the strongest dragon to choose someone like her. I can't describe how angry I am at him. So anyways, I'm gonna read more about this romance love story, bonded dragon pair, and I'm gonna let you know what happens. Really quick update from the phone. First of all, the relic that they gave her, the dragon, the giant black dragon across her back with the shimmering golden one in the middle. I'm crying. I'm actually crying. And then Dane kissed her. And it's finally happening, and the thrill is gone in less than a heartbeat. There's no heat, no energy, no sharp slice of lust. Disappointment sours the moment, but not for Dane. He's all smiles. It was over in an instant. It was everything I've ever wanted, except I don't want it anymore. I really hope she doesn't have to like slug through a fake relationship, or not fake, but like not sexy relationship on her end. We all know it's Xaden. Mated dragons, mated people. I'm really excited. I have a theory. She is in the archives right now talking to Jacinia. She asked for the Fables of the Baron, which are the collection of short stories that her dad used to read to her that she wanted to take with her on the trip. And like instantly, like it's weird vibes. Like Jacinia's like, I'm not familiar with that text. And she's like, oh, well, I mean, if you see it, that's great. I have a theory that this text is going to have the secret as to why they've been at war for 600 years and what it is that these people are looking for. Just a thought, just a cute little thought. Anyways, I'm going to keep reading. A lot's happened. Okay, let's start from the top. She told off Dane, frickin' finally. She literally said, let's get one thing straight. The reason we'll never be anything more than friends isn't because of your rules. It's because you have no faith in me, even now when I've survived against all odds and bonded to not just one dragon, but two. But you still think I won't make it, so forgive me, but you're about to be some of the bullshit that this place cuts away from me. Good for her. Good for her. And then we see an Intrinsic pop up, which is a mind reader, and he gets immediately killed. Shocker, actually. I did not expect that. And then she's sleeping and she's having this lovely dream about her father. And then Tarn is screaming in her head to wake up and she's about to be attacked by 7 cadets. 7 unbonded cadets. And then time stops. She's about to die. Time stops. And immediately I was like, that's Andarna, because she literally says mine. And then time just stops for 30 seconds. She gets out from under like the knife that's about to kill her. And then Xaden takes over. Like Xaden was at the door. And then when time starts again, he like kills everyone that was there. But the cadet that opened her door ran away. And we don't know who it is yet. But either way, we finally get like the whole meeting between Scale, Tarn, and Andarna, and Xaden, and Violet. All of them together on the flight field right after this happens. And we find out that a Feathertail is a baby. She's only 2 years old. I'm gonna cry. I love her so much. Yeah, and so she has this like ability. Like each of them gets like these strange like abilities when they're Feathertails, and they normally lose them by the time they grow into adulthood, and hers is to stop time. So no one's gonna find out. Her and Xaden are gonna keep that secret. We find out that like technically Andarna is like the adopted daughter of like kind of adopted of Scale and Tarn. They're finally leaving the dragons. The dragons go off to sleep and he goes, now tell me who opened your door. And I don't want to know. I'm so scared because it's a rider, it's a female, and like she's like, I don't even know if I believe it. Oh, I don't know. I'm really stressed. I told Adam that I'd hang out with him as soon as this chapter is done, and now I want to read another chapter, so I think I will. Chapter 20. Oh, actually, okay, so my guess is, what's her name? Amber, that like the wing leader that Dane was like buddies with, the one that was like, you broke the rules, you can't use a dagger on the ramp, blah, 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 blah. That bitch. I think it would have been her. Let's find out. I just read the chapter header for chapter 20 and I think I'm right. It says accusing a wing leader of wrongdoings is the most dangerous of all accusations. If you're right, then you've failed as a quadrant to select the best wing leaders. If you're wrong, you're dead. That went down. That went down. Amber gets accused by Xaden, duh. And Dane had the nerve to be like, tell everyone he's lying. Telling his best friend. She's like, this is why I didn't tell you. And he's still sitting there. He's like, you don't understand. She always follows the rules. You're lying. Let me see. He literally went to go grab her head to look in her memories. And she said, good for her. Good for her. Touch me without permission and you'll spend the rest of your life regretting it. And she had Tarn show them all her memories, like all of the dragons. So the 4 wing leaders' dragons, her dragon, and Xaden's dragons get there in the courtyard. And Tarn does show the memory of Amber. And she looks at Dane as he pales. And she goes, believe me now, you're supposed to be my oldest friend, Dane, my best friend. There's a reason I didn't tell you. He staggers backward. It's what he deserved. But then Clyde, Amber's dragon, and Amber's about to get executed, and that's when Violet realizes like the severity of it, and she doesn't want Clyde to be hurt, and she's like, can we give her another chance? And Tarn says, I let someone live once and he almost killed you last night, Silver One. Justice is not always merciful. Amber, like the last thing she says is her dragon's name, and then she gets blasted by Tarn's fire, and Clyde screams so loud that like a window shatters. That wasn't as satisfying as like I wanted it to be, because I feel so bad for her dragon. But her dragon knew, you know, like she couldn't see into her memories. She could have told Amber in the moment not to do it, that it was gonna have bad consequences. I feel like emotionally whipped right now. I went from extreme like, yes, it's what you deserve, to like actually being really sad. I should stop reading. I told Adam I'd hang out with him a while ago, but I can't. My good lord. This book, not only am I blushing, but I'm enthralled. I'm ecstatic. I feel I've got goosebumps. That's how much I'm liking this book. I'm halfway through, guys. We're at the halfway point, basically. What was my last update? We already talked about Clyde. We learned more about the rebellion in general. I thought I should mention that. I do really like actually that she was paired up with Liam. Liam seems great and it was interesting. I mean, obviously we have that fact that history is always written by the victors. So there's a lot of things that aren't recorded even for scribes. So the things that she's read isn't entirely what happened during that rebellion and who got executed and things like that. I thought that was very interesting. But, all right, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about, I mean, it starts with Xaden shirtless, right? Sparring, shirtless, hot. And she's thinking her lustful thoughts. And all I can think of is like, because her dragon responds, he's like, serves you right, when she gets like tackled in her mat. Can you imagine having like lustful thoughts about someone with 100-year-old dragon listening in? I'd be so embarrassed. I'd be so embarrassed. And then they say that she's ready, that she's finally ready to channel. Tarn and Andarna both say it, which is very exciting. And she's like brushing her hair in her room later that night and she gets a rush of energy and she just starts feeling it. And then she starts feeling a little bit more because of course Tarn and Scale doing the deed, doing something, definitely making her feel some type of way. And who does she run into when she runs off in her lustful pursuits? Xaden. On the roof, he's smoking what I'm assuming is like this version of weed, you know? They call it what, charn or something? Churum. I think it's weed, but either way, he's getting lustful, she's getting lustful. Both of these bitches refuse to realize that the other person actually like finds them sexy, and they make out. And it's the hottest makeout session ever. And he's like, you've got to go because I'm not gonna be able to stop. And I know that these aren't your thoughts. And she's like, of course these aren't my thoughts. I don't even trust you. Oh, yeah, we're on page 280. I think I'm gonna stop for tonight. I'm worried that I'm gonna get through this too fast and this is gonna send me into a reading slump. Not a real reading slump because the thing is, it's just, I don't think I'm gonna read something this good for a while, for a long time. Like, oh my god, I love this. I love these characters. I love Violet. I love Rhiannon. I love Riddick. I love Liam. I love Xaden. I kind of hate Dane. I just feel so emotionally invested. I totally get the hype. You know, like when you hear so much hype about a book and you want to be like, I'm not like other readers. I've got standards. I'm just like other readers. I have standards. This is just really good. This is just really good and we're only halfway through. Like there's so much room. Screaming, crying, kicking, all of the feelings. I'm gonna pause for tonight. I'm gonna pause for tonight. I don't want to pause for tonight. Oh my gosh, it's fine. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. I told my friends I'd hang out with them. This is how I feel. You know, every time I need to think to myself, like, I want to try and be a romance girly, I'm a fantasy girly through and through. I like a sprinkling of romance. I like some romance in my fantasy, do not get me wrong. But I'm a fantasy girl. I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna go do something with my life. Try not to think about these characters. It is 2 days later, but I didn't get to read yesterday because I was on a boat all day. So let's catch you up because I have like exciting feelings about where I'm at in the book right now. Where did we leave off? We talked about them kissing, right? I feel like we did. I feel like that's the thing. If not, they kissed and it was the most magical moment of my life. It just was. Oh, and then I found out literally the next page, we do know who Tarn's previous rider was, and that's Naolin. And Naolin was, I'm pretty sure, the rider that tried to save Brennan's life. The one that like overexerted themselves using their healing powers and ended up dying because he was trying to raise Brennan back from the dead. I don't know when I missed that. I think they did mention that in the Dragonkind class when they were talking about the Black Dragon in general, but I don't know, I must have missed it because she been knew, so it's not Brennan's dragon. My new theory is that Brennan and Naolin had like a relationship and that is why he ultimately tried to save Brennan. I'm gonna turn you around to actually use my other camera. The other thing that did get mentioned in this scene, which I really do like, because Rhiannon and her were talking about how like she kissed Xaden. She's telling Rhiannon about like the whole mated pairs thing, and she's like, he's the most powerful writer of our generation. He's gonna be needed on the front, not here. And Rhiannon says, for now. He's the most powerful writer in our generation for now. And I just feel like that was like a really important thing to be said, like in general, not even just for her to hear, but just to be said. She has the most powerful dragon currently. Granted, Scale's super powerful, super powerful, but even she shows deference to Tarn. And so like, I love that Rhiannon said that. Rhiannon's like a girl's girl. We love her. We love Rhiannon. Dane talked to her. Dane was like, you trust him more than you trust me. Let's talk about this, blah, 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 blah. And then she finally like snapped at him and she goes, I know you just want to keep me safe, but keeping me safe is keeping me from growing too. When you told me that this place strips everything away from you to reveal what's underneath, I was afraid. What if underneath the brittle bones and frail ligaments, there was just more weakness? Only this time I wouldn't be able to blame my body. And he goes, you've never been weak to me. And she goes, it doesn't matter what you think. It only matters what I think. At my core, Dane, I'm a writer. I love that she finally stood up for herself that way because he had been like overly protective. Also, I thought it was interesting. He always touches her face. Like you always have like a scene of him like touching her cheek, touching her face. Doesn't his power rely on that? Like, does it specifically have to be the temples or can like a cheek transmute power? You know what I mean? I don't know. He touched her cheek after that conversation. It made me feel weird. Oh, Jack. So her and Jack finally had their like fight against each other, which I was scared as hell for. Like I was just terrified. And I mean, she actually does really well and her ligaments are doing better. Like her shoulder that should have popped out of place didn't when he like threw her over him. But he like stabbed her through the arm, which would slow anyone down. But he cheated. He used his powers. Like whatever the frick his power is, which is just to cause insane pain. Like, is that what it is? Is that just his power? And like anyone that tried to touch him would feel it too. Like, I mean, that's not allowed, first of all, but either way, it didn't matter because this girl, she thinks everything through. She poisoned him, but with something that he's allergic to. He's allergic to oranges. She just put like orange concentrate into his mouth and he almost died, but he lived because she told Riddick what it was. Oh, Xaden had daggers made for her. That is a form of love. That's a form of love in my eyes. Infinitely, that feels like love to me. And not only are they just daggers that are made for her grip, her strength, her movement style, because they're shorter, they're smaller, they're like more powerful. They're made with Tyrish knots, old mythical runes, like his own homeland. I don't know. I just felt like that was really romantic. And that whole scene was really sexy because he's like, you have to disarm me to get them. And so he's just like pinning her down and then she flips him over and pins him down and then he flips her back over and pins her back down and oh my goodness, you know, like oh my god. And she still hasn't gotten a signet power, which is nerve-wracking since you can just like combust after a while. Also her running into her mother and her mother being an atrocious human, like I don't know if her mom's ever gonna have like a character arc redemption, but I hate her for right now. Like she's just not nice. Like she just like always is digging at her and she's like asking her about her signet, all of that kind of stuff, which actually I thought it was really interesting how they mentioned, well, I'll talk about that in a minute, but either way, she said that she hopes she manifests a signet soon because if not, all that incredible enviable power will have been squandered. Rude. Like she said that to her own daughter. Don't you want her to, I don't know. Either way, then, because they're around some other generals or whatever it is, they're with Dane's dad and her mom, and like Xaden's right there next to her, and either way, they're like grilling her about her dragon, about Andarna, and saying that they've never really seen like a feathertail in person and purely academic purposes. Can they actually just inspect her? And she's like, no, she wouldn't be comfortable with that. She's private because obviously she's a baby. Like we found out now that Andarna's like I feel like I didn't talk about this stuff with you, but I think I did. And Darna's a baby. She's just 2 years old and she bonded. Like she's gonna grow up. She is, but she's a baby right now and no one's ever seen a baby, you know? They're gonna keep it a secret. Now, what I thought was interesting here is they said, I remember your father doing a bit of research about the Second Croveland Uprising and he mentioned something about feathertails, but we can't seem to find that tome. And she tells him like, well, I don't think he finished his research before he died. And no, I don't know where it is, but she does know where it is. She has the location for all of his work that he's ever worked on, and I think that that's going to come into play later. I think that there's a lot of things about like feather tails and griffins and whatever it is that this other country is searching for inside of their country that will come to light because her father was a scribe. Oh, and the last thing that her mother says to her is, do see if you can master some kind of signet, Cadet Sorrengal. You have a legacy to live up to. Rude. I also do really like that she told Xaden that it's always kind of been that way, that like her mother kind of has seen her as a disgrace. And I think that that was an important side for him to see of her, because obviously he doesn't like her mother, and for him to know that like she didn't really get the benefits of having this woman as a mother would be healthy for them. Oh, we had the games happen, and I love that she broke into her own mother's office to steal the map. That was brilliant, and they won. Thank God. They win by going to an outpost, and like the safest outpost that they could possibly imagine. But guess who they run into at the outpost? One of the riders that they're gonna be shadowing, Mira. I'm so excited about it, but I also kind of really didn't love this because Mira, well, we finally realized like the rebellion children, the first one that's gonna be in active duty is Xaden. Like he's the first one. So the active duty riders have never had a ride with them, and they have a lot of like their own prejudices still against them. Like obviously everyone at the school has gotten used to the idea of the rebellion children being part of their class, and they love them and they appreciate them, especially our girly pop, Violet. But Mira still has some of that prejudice against her and still thinks that Xaden's gonna fuck her over, and I just really didn't like that. And Xaden appears during this time. Leadership wasn't supposed to be there, but the mating bond between their dragons started to chafe, and he had to fly out 3 days into the experience, which we love to see it. Rhiannon got to see her nephew, which I thought was like a cute little part of the story. Not totally necessary, but I totally thought it was cute. I do like that she did kind of like stand up for her friends. Like Liam asked a question, and Liam obviously has a rebellion mark. Mira almost like doesn't respond to him, and so she clears her throat and meets her sister's eyes and like lifts her eyebrows, like, don't fuck with my friends. And she responds to Liam, like, which I think is important. Oh, and Xaden starts talking in her head. Love that. Something to do with the fact that their dragons are bonded and they can hear each other like through their dragons anyways. Loved it. And then griffins actually do appear, and they are forced to leave. Mira looks at Xaden and is like, I'm trusting you to get her out of here. And Xaden's like, I'm gonna get her out of here. And then he kisses her. Like, he kisses her to distract her for long enough to get them out. Not necessary, but I loved it. So anyways, now we're back home. Mira ended up being okay. There wasn't any deaths or anything in that griffin attack. And we see that Xaden made a harness for her. I've been waiting for this for so long. Like, the only thing I keep thinking about is, like, this girlie cannot stay on this ginormous dragon. She is small. And she's not gonna stay on. And they finally made her a harness. Like, Xaden and Tarn both agreed to it, and she like walks up during like their last year-end game thing, and he's wearing it all proud and everything, and Xaden made it, and he had his input from Tarn, and I just am so happy about it. And then he's flirting with her in his head, so like it looks like, you know, they're officially kind of like a thing, and he's saying that the only reason that he hasn't wanted to like make out with her in front of other people is because he cares about her image. And Andarna is there. She's gonna like fly with them, which I think is adorable. She rolled around in mud so that her gold scales don't show up as much. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I think that she's about to have her signet power, like, blow up, basically. Or not blow up, I don't think she's gonna combust, but I think that her signet power is gonna come to life. And I have actually no theories about what it could possibly be. I know I should. My original theory had been like healing, but I don't think that that's what it's going to be anymore. I just feel like it's going to be something like really out of the box, like something that I couldn't possibly have thought of, and that is going to work so well. Something powerful, something rare, like something rare. She's finally been able to like ride without like falling off, and like she's feeling like the relic on her back like burning her, and they're in the middle of these games, and I don't know, I really think that she's about to have her signet thing released. Anyways, I'm gonna keep reading. Wow, what a scene. Jack jumping onto Liam's dragon just to murder him. Yeah, no, he deserved to die. I mean, there was millions of other times in this book already that he deserved to die, but that stopping time to grab Liam before he fell, passing him off to Rhiannon just for her to turn around and think her signet is about to destroy her, that she thinks she's about to combust, and it is lightning. She's a lightning wielder. What does that even mean? I thought that for a minute she had like the storm powers that like her mom has, but like lightning? That's so cool. And I did think it was interesting. Well, I mean, Xaden's like, I kind of might have figured, what does that even mean? You know, like, is it because she's fast? Is it, what is it? You know, like, I don't, what does that mean? But like her saying that like it reflects what you are truly down deep in your core, and for her, truly down deep in her core, she's violence, and she doesn't like that. I thought that was interesting because, like, yeah, she's been pulling all her punches. She never goes for the kill. She finally killed someone and it's like destroying her, but it was exactly what needed to be done. And Xaden even like thanking her. Like, I almost forgot that Xaden and Liam had like a foster connection in that way. So like, oof. Yeah, I just thought I should update you on that. Like, her little self-deprecating party though, sitting there throwing daggers at a dummy and saying like, well, if I've been pulling my punches this entire time and now all I can do is kill, I might as well just be killing everyone. And then Xaden walks in and she throws one backwards and it still hits her target. Hot. And he just said, you've never been like any other writer. Wait. So do whatever you need to get it out. I can take it. Oh, she's about it. She's about it. Show me what you've got. I surge up on my toes and kiss him. Ah! Have I been waiting this whole book for this scene? I need a moment. Oh my goodness. It was everything we could have hoped for and more. The destruction of her bedroom. That poor armoire. It was flawless. Not a single complaint on my end. The lightning, there's never a bad time for a lightning mid smut scene. Just saying. And then the next day, like, Professor Carr is waiting outside her door and he's like, we're gonna go train your lightning. Her and Xaden have like that whole talk where they're like, he's like, you can't fall for me. And she's like, you can't tell me what to do. I'm kind of like, admit that you're falling for me and we can just keep doing this. And he's like, we're not doing that. So for like a month and a half, they don't talk. Like, what the heck? Like, the sexual tension could be cut with a butter knife. And then it's like the actual day of celebration. What do they call it? I want to say consecration, but I don't think it's that. Also, I want to mention, Dane touched her face again during that little party. Touched her cheek. I don't know, it's giving me anxiety, I don't like it. It's giving me anxiety, I don't like it. But yeah, anyways, she goes out to the parapet in a fucking dress, no shoes. He stops her, they go back to his room, and oh my goodness, her telling him that she's in love with him. The interruption from the door, and it's the war games. Like, no, like, it was great. No, like, I loved it a lot, but like, could have finished. I know we finished, but we could have finished again. I'm just saying, I don't know. I'm gonna keep reading. I just like, I'm at that point in the book where it's gonna be really hard to stop, so I figured I'd say something before I end this, and yeah. I don't think I can do this. Oh, fuck. The war games were just a fucking ploy. Oh, I look a mess. I am a mess. I just, you know what, you need to be closer because I'm suffering. The war games were fake. Well, I don't know, they're real, but they're fake for Xaden, and Xaden took his team. He took marked ones only, and he took Violet with them because he couldn't be away from Violet. And Dane, there aren't enough words in any language to describe the betrayal that fucking coward. I knew he shouldn't be touching her face. I'm really upset. Okay, because, oh fuck, okay. It's been a riot of emotions, let me tell you. First off, they're making out, and then Griffin riders show up, and it turns out Xaden's been giving them weaponry because Venin are real. Venin are real, and that is what the frickin' that's what her brother died for that secret, because her country, Navarre, does not want to fight against the Venin. Their wards keep them out, so they don't care about the rest of the other country that's being attacked by these soulless, awful creatures from Fables. That Fable book that she couldn't find in the library. She felt betrayed. She thinks that Liam wasn't her friend. She thinks that Xaden wasn't real with her. Even Tarn and Andarna had known. Okay, and so they get to their outpost either way after they hand off their weaponry to the Griffins, and the outpost is empty. An outpost that should have 200 people that should be telling them what to do for their war games, empty. And there's 4 Venin going to the trading post city just down the road. And there's a letter from Commander or Colonel, whatever the hell, Dane's dad, just being like, you can either join us at the war games at your other outpost and let this city die, or you can defend the city and die. It's a loyalty test. The Griffins, I got mad respect for those Griffin flyers. They walked up, they said, we don't expect you to fly with us. Our flyers are already making peace with all our gods. Like, we're gonna die. Just 2 Venin alone took down a whole city last month. There's 4. This is a death sentence. I'm so stressed. Listen, because it was going kind of well and she's been wielding a lot of lightning, and then Liam risked his life to save them from a wyvern, because there's wyverns now too, because wyverns were in that same fable book about venins, and they're there, and it was about to attack Tarn while she wasn't looking, and Liam's dragon, Day, attacked it and died. And then Liam died. Oh, I'm really upset. It's just so fucking dumb. Like, Liam's dead, and there's a whole freaking horde of wyverns coming their way. There's like 20 of them. And it's looking kind of okay, because Violet has like her surge of violent retribution. Like, she's gonna get revenge for Day and Liam. Liam, who proved he was her friend, who said that thing was gonna take a chunk out of Tarn. You saved my life and now it's my turn. No matter what you think of me for keeping secrets, we're friends, Violet. I'm really upset. So anyways, a wyvern just came out of nowhere and Tarn just roared in pain, and I don't know if I can continue. Like, I'm sure— oh my god, wait, did I even mention that Liam asked her to take care of his sister? He didn't deserve this. He was so good. I'm fine. I'm not fine. Oh my god, I'm so upset right now. I don't want to keep reading. Why does this always happen to me? Fuck, I'm just really upset right now. And the last thing I read but I never see the one coming at us from the left, not until I feel Tarn's roar of pain. What does that mean? I can't do this. I don't know if I can. I really don't. Oh, let's see the chapter header for the next one. Chapter header. But it was the third brother who commanded the sky to surrender its greatest power, who finally vanquished his jealous sibling at a great and terrible price. What does that mean? What does that mean? I think everyone's gonna be okay, but I also have this really bad anxiety about Andarna, because she's there, like, she's in the keep hiding, and I'm just like really nervous. I don't have any like good hope for this book at this point. Like, I think it's just trying to tear me apart, and I know this is like the first book. Like, you went all out for your first book to ruin me. Fucking Dane. Guys, I knew it. I said that I thought it was sus as hell that he kept touching her cheek. And you know the last thing? This man, this freaking boy, this coward said to her, he said, him, you, and him, people talk, and I thought that's all this was, but you, don't go, Violet, please. He's going to get you killed. Don't you mean you're gonna get her killed because you were telling your daddy all her secrets that you were forcibly taking from her brain? If he's what you choose, then I guess that has to be enough for me, doesn't it? I'll miss you, Violet. Oh, death would be too good for him. Death would be too good for him. I want him eviscerated. I want to tear him apart limb from limb. I hate him. Oh my god. How could you Liam. Like, I'm not over that. Another dragon has already died too. Don't get me wrong, okay, I think everything's gonna turn out okay. There's like 2 other books coming, right? I think that they're gonna win this battle at great cost to them, and I think they're gonna make it back with half their squad, obviously, and then they're gonna have a Sorrengal to sit there and be like, you're gonna freaking listen to me when I tell you that our country is keeping secrets from us. I don't know. You know? Oh my god. I'm gonna keep reading, I guess. What just happened? Andarna almost came out and I almost had a panic attack. Yeah. And then she gave her time stopping ability and she stopped time and she killed the Venin, which I kind of had that theory. I was like, what if lightning kills Venin? And it does. But it literally burnt out Violet and she just fell off his back. But like, what happened to her straps? What the fuck happened? Oh, and the last Venin just got killed by Xaden, because Xaden's a badass. Oh yeah, it's the poison. Well, poison, the Cusco's poison. The poison created specifically for Cusco. Anyways, Andarna stopped time again, but she was already burning. She's out in the battle. I'm so anxious. I'm sorry, what? Oh my god, I'm gonna hyperventilate. Them being in Aricia, rebuilding it, The healer, this suspicious healer, Brennan. I couldn't have seen that coming. No, because you don't understand. Did he actually die? And did Neolin actually raise him back from the dead? Did he never die? What happened? Did he not die, but then since he seceded, the mom just said he died? What is happening? Her dad died of a heart attack because he thought that Brennan was dead and he wasn't dead. Oh my god. I'm sorry. What? No, because like, I've gone through it. 5 fucking stars. We're gonna talk later. I'm gonna go to sleep and scream at the tops of my lungs because Brennan's alive. Oh my god. Oh my god.